Brother Nubreed coming through with another live stream. We're back. We're back. Do me a solid and double tap your screen on the way in. It seems that we're one step closer to a totalitarian dictatorship. Oh, man, so we're talking about Jimmy Kimmel. He's officially canceled, y'all. Jimmy Kimmel, was truly polarizing when it comes to nighttime television. He's been doing it for many years. He's been able to say things that people want to say, but they can't say. And he would, pretty much frame it as a joke. Well, this time, it cost him his show. So perhaps he's fired or an indefinite suspension. The media hasn't really been clear about that. But we do have some tweets from Donald Trump. So we got to definitely get into it, y'all. Greetings, everybody. What's going on? As y'all enter, make sure you double tap the screen. We're talking about Jimmy Kimmel being canceled. What's going on? Wonderful and beautiful maid is in the building. Willie Matthews is in the house. I see y'all. So we got to get right to the news, man. And what it looks like is they pulled Jimmy Kimmel off the air live while he was making certain claims regarding the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I mean, they paused him mid-show. Like, boom, we got to cut to a commercial break. And what Jimmy Kimmel was alleging is that the assassination was Maga on Maga crime, and they're pretty much trying to shift the blame to someone else. That's what he claimed. They shut him down. And now there's a lot of murmurs going on social media. There's a lot of people talking on the news, mainstream media. A lot of pundits have things to say. I'm going to share my thoughts on this as well. And we definitely got to get to it.
State visit with the royal family here at Windsor Castle is celebrating after ABC announced that it is taking Jimmy Kimmel's late night show off the air indefinitely following criticism over comments that he made in the days after Charlie Kirk's murder. The president declared victory basically tonight, writing on Truth Social that this is, quote, great news for America. The ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel's show is canceled. Congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done. Kimmel has zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert, if that's possible. That leaves Jimmy and Seth, two total losers on fake news NBC. Their ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC. Now, before we go and
now listen. Jimmy Kimmel was made to be an example, y'all. He was made to be an example. But at the same time, could he have been canceled? Really, because his ratings were low. Could this be why he was really canceled? But he was to be made as an example to the public. And that example is watch what you say. Watch what you say. And freedom of speech is truly being challenged. Now, I know some staunch right-wing conservatives. There's a lot of MAGA people out there. I mean, just pro-right, borderline white nationalists. They're even saying, hey, we don't want our freedom of speech taken away now. See, they want their freedom of hate speech. So they're looking at this in a whole nother way. They're like, hold on now. We don't want that taken away because it's starting to kind of look like that y'all are willing to take away people's freedom of speech, and that goes for everyone. So, yeah, somebody said that ABC fired him, not Trump. Yeah, which is true. Which is true. But see, it's about the optics. How does this look? The way this looks is, all right, if you question what happened in the death of Charlie Kirk, then you can be shut down. Now, what Jimmy Kimmel said was that he believed it was MAGA on MAGA crime, and they were trying to pretty much blame it on somebody else. Now, they're claiming, the Trump administration is claiming that's misinformation, right? Correct. And you know what? It may be misinformation because at the end of the day, we don't know. We don't know who's responsible because the young man, Tyler, that they got in custody, he never confessed. He never confessed. And on top of that, it's whatever the feds say. It's whatever the feds say. So technically, if you say that it was MAGA on MAGA, they can say, hey, that's misinformation. If the feds say it was a strong wing leftist, now I don't know how much we, the general public, the American citizens, believe the feds, but nonetheless, we have to go with the status quo in this time, in this day and age. They're finding so many loopholes, right, to be able to silence people who question what's going on, right? But anyway, let's go.
Further about the major questions that have been raised by this decision tonight, I want you to listen to Jimmy Kimmel in his own words during his monologue on Monday night.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction.
Damn. I mean, hey, listen. Jimmy Kimmel's making jokes. Jimmy Kimmel has always done this. You know, it seems like he framed it as a joke, but you know, you just can't do that nowadays. And I'm gonna tell you, man, I will say it's very interesting to see these people, you know, really, and when I say these people, I mean middle America. It's interesting to see middle America canceling each other, you know, ousting each other. It's interesting from the outside looking in. You know, they talked about passing some type of bill. You know, they started talking about some type of bill that would essentially clamp down on anyone online on social media, you know, which probably they're not going to be able to do. I mean, who taking you know, the American citizens, taxpayers' dollars to monitor everyone who has an opinion on Charlie Kirk? That seems a bit outlandish and egregious, but you need a public example. And they got that public example, you know, and that's Jimmy Kimmel.
Which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction.
That was the comment that Jimmy Kimmel made on Monday night. It comes after what he shared in the short aftermath of Kirk's assassination, where Jimmy Kimmel wrote, quote, "Instead of the angry finger pointing, can we just for one day agree that it is horrible and monstrous to shoot another human? On behalf of my family, we send love to the Kirks and to all the children, parents, and innocents who fall victim to senseless gun violence. Now, this decision tonight has raised many questions beyond the actions of an individual company. That's because this announcement comes just hours after we heard from the FCC chairman.
Now, I know, and you got some of people from Maga in the building, and they're saying, look, good thing they canceled him. They're saying this is great. He was spreading, extremism ideologies or extremist ideologies. Listen, I want to just ask y'all this, and this is a fair question to Maga. A real fair question I want to ask. What if this ends up infringing upon your freedom of speech? Because you have questions. Now, that's something that you really should consider, because I've seen a lot of right-wing pundits and podcasters actually against this. There's a lot of them like, hold on now. We don't want to take away freedom of speech, right? Now, that's just something to consider. Do y'all want to be under a dictatorship? Because we know y'all like to hurl y'all racial obscenities. What if that's infringed upon? Just a question.
Brendan Carr in an interview where he said that Jimmy Kimmel should be removed over his comments about Charlie Kirk's killing.
When you look at the conduct that has taken place by Jimmy Kimmel, it appears to be some of the sickest conduct possible. As you've indicated, there are, avenues here for the FCC. So there are some ways in which I need to be a little bit careful, because it could be called ultimately to.
Let's see. Weggy Weston, he answers the question. He says, no, but the left has gone too far, and the left has to be stopped no matter what. Interesting. So, Weggy, my question to you then is, should we end the bipartisan government altogether? Should there only be one branch of government? Weggy, that's a serious question I have for you. Should they just get rid of the left so there's no opposing side to challenge any policy, to challenge any laws? I mean, you said they have to be stopped no matter what. Should they just get rid of the left? And that's a serious question, Weggy. That's a serious question I'm asking you. Hopefully you can give me an answer to that.
There are, avenues here for the FCC. So there are some ways in which I need to be a little bit careful, because it could be called ultimately to be a judge on some of these claims that come up. Look, there's calls for.
Somebody said they are parties, not branches of government. Listen, they're two wings of the same bird, if you ask me, but they're designed to bring stability in the country. And if you get rid of bipartisanship, if you get rid of this bipartisanship, you get rid of democracy altogether. And what you have then is the totalitarian government. It'll be a dictatorship at that point. So it seems to me, and I'm just asking these questions because it seems like some of you MAGA supporters are okay with a dictatorship. And that would make us no different than communist China.
Kimmel will be fired. I think, you could certainly see a path forward for suspension over this. And again, the FCC is going to have remedies that we could look at.
Like what Jimmy Kimmel said or not, find it tasteful or distasteful, that is the FCC chair saying there, in the wake of that there are remedies that the FCC could look at. One thing that's important to note here as we look at this is how Kimmel's departure from the airwaves has been a goal of President Trump's for quite some time, long before the comments that he made about.
And let me explain our view from Black America, from the Black American's perspective. All we see is high-profile white-on-white crime. All right? We don't care whether it was the left or the right. We don't care if it's MAGA versus MAGA. We don't care. All we see is high-profile white-on-white crime. All right? So from our perspective, that's what we see. And we're just completely entertained by the whole situation. We're entertained by it. It is invigorating It's invigorating to see America rip each other to shreds, right? And we're just simply watching from the background, and we find it, very, very interesting. All right.
Charlie Kirk and how Trump was responding to his death. Trump himself has said more than once that he wanted Jimmy Kimmel off.
Yeah, Trump said it more than once. He wanted Jimmy Kimmel gone. So hey, his request was met. And somebody says, this is interesting. Somebody says, what a very small viewpoint on that. Yeah, because we gave up on Democrats and Republicans a long time ago. We're foundational Black Americans. And we've already discovered that there'll never be a comprehensive plan for Black America coming from either party. So we decided that, we're just going to focus on our own. But we're definitely entertained by what y'all got going on in the country. See, we know that, y'all's time is running out to be in leadership. And we know that biblically. We know that prophetically, y'all's kingdom is going to go to rubble because a house divided can't stand. So we're looking at y'all's whole house of cards fall. And we know that, it'll be our time to lead in the future. Every nation gets its time to lead. And it's about time that, y'all's fall. Because y'all destroying each other.
The air. On July 29th, this is what he wrote after CBS announced it was canceling Stephen Colbert's late night show. The president said he believed that Jimmy Kimmel would be next. And he said this from the White House.
Jimmy Kimmel already had a target on his back. His ratings was slipping. Jimmy Kimmel's ratings was slipping, and he already was enemies with Trump. So it was only a matter of time. So there hasn't been any official laws passed where you can't question what happened. But they made this public example for people to be afraid. And some people are.
August.
Colbert has no talent. I mean, I could take anybody here. I could go outside on the beautiful streets and pick up a couple of people that do just as well or better. They get higher ratings than he did. He's got no talent. Fallon has no talent. Kimmel has no talent. They're next. They're going to be going. I hear they're going to be going.
He's starting to remind me of Xi Jinping. I think I'm saying his name right. Xi Jinping. He's starting to remind me of the Chinese president. Like, if anybody say anything bad about Trump, troll him, is he going to be trying to get them shut down? Do they got to worship him on TV? And is South Park next? Is South Park next? Don't cancel South Park.
Trump said he heard that they are going to be going. I want to get straight to CNN's chief media analyst, Brian Stelter, and CNN's senior legal analyst, Ellie Honig, who are both here tonight. And Brian, one thing that stands out tonight is that it is 9 o'clock on the East Coast. It's just past 2 a.m. here in the United Kingdom. Obviously, Trump has weighed in. We haven't heard from Jimmy Kimmel himself yet or his show on this.
That's what I keep waiting for. That's what I'm refreshing for. Caitlin, Kimmel's camp has had about 3 hours now to process this decision by ABC. They were just about to start production of the episode when this decision was handed down. Some fans were already lined up ready to head inside the studio in West Hollywood. So Kimmel's voice is going to be really important. That's the next big part of this story. What will he say and when? Kimmel's contract with ABC was coming due in just a few months.
Somebody from Maga asked a very interesting question. He says, so you're cool with conservatives being canceled, but not leftist maniacs. Listen, I say cancel all of them. How about that? Cancel the Democrats, cancel the Republicans, cancel the Babylonian system altogether. Like I said, we're just on the outside looking in. And what we see is neither one of these parties have a comprehensive plan for our people. We want our residuals. We want our tangibles. We want our land back. We don't care about none of it. This is entertainment for us. I mean, we're looking at this and we're just at awe, because never before have you even seen a prominent a prominent nighttime TV host who's another white man get canceled. See, we looking at that and saying, wow, they out here canceling each other. They out here popping each other in the neck. They out here wilding out. We just eating our popcorn. We don't care about the political stuff. We don't care about who's strong left, who's strong right. No, we don't see none of that. All we see is white supremacy structures having a civil war. That's what we see. Yeah, we got our popcorn and this is the Truman Show for us. Y'all got to understand how Black America feels about this. This is why you get to watch my streams and figure what Black America really thinks. Yeah, I speak for all Black guys. I do. I speak for every last one of us.
I believe it was set to expire at the end of this year. So this could be the end of the show forever, right? Maybe the show will not come back, or maybe ABC is going to react to the very loud.
Or maybe they canceled him. Maybe they suspended him so they can bring him back and bring the ratings back up. It's white people business. Maybe they say, look, Jimmy, hey, we're going to stage this in front of the whole public. Jimmy, come on, this is what we're going to do. We want you to say some inflammatory comments about Trump, about MAGA on MAGA. Look, we're going to suspend you indefinitely because, the ratings are going down. And then when you come back, the ratings are going to skyrocket. We're going to make a whole spectacle out of it. We're going to instill fear in people who question what's going on. See, you got to think 10 steps ahead of these people.
Criticism that the company is facing right now. Everyone from, yes, Democratic politicians, free speech groups, but also many ordinary fans of Kimmel who wanted to see him tonight in the coming days. Because, every reaction causes a counter reaction. And I'm very interested to see what the counter reaction is here among the millions of Kimmel fans.
Somebody said it wasn't a claim, though. He stated the truth. Well, we don't know. We don't know what the truth is. We don't know what happened. We don't know if Donald Trump played the role of Suge Knight, Charlie Kirk being Tupac, Donald Trump being Suge Knight. We don't know if it was the extreme left. We don't know if it was MAGA. We don't know if it was just a orchestrated hit from the inside, a blood sacrifice. We don't know. But what we do know, it was no Black people up in Utah. That's what we know. It wasn't a single Black face in that crowd in Utah. It was none of us in that modern day Klan rally. That's what we know. That's what we know.
Who are going to want to see him on the air. But right now, Caitlin, the entertainment industry is in absolute shock. This feels like a worst case scenario for many entertainers, comedians, political activists, figures who want to have free speech rights in this country and feel that they are under threat right now.
Well, Brian, can I ask you on that? Because I know sometimes as a reporter covering a beat, you hear rumors about someone's departure or firing coming. Right. Had there been rumors about this happening? Had you had any indication that Jimmy Kimmel, a very popular host, was about to be pulled off of ABC?
Fears, but not rumors. What we have been hearing in recent weeks were fears, murmurs about what the political environment is like. A sense that, President Trump wanted Kimmel canceled. A sense that Disney does feel the pressure from the Trump administration. Disney's a big company. It doesn't just have broadcast stations. It also has theme parks that everybody loves. It also has lots of other lines of business.
Man, I think Jimmy Kimmel will be back on TV and ratings are going to skyrocket. And if not, it was just his time. Jimmy Kimmel is still going to ride off into the sunset with millions of dollars. And it is what it is. And see, I'm going to tell y'all, middle America is mad that we don't care, y'all. They mad that we're not highly invested in this situation. They're mad that they're not able to emotionally harvest off of us. That's why you had people marching, white nationalist groups marching through the streets, trying to go on a witch hunt because they're mad that we're not investing our energy into these people. They're upset about that. And they got all this misappropriated hate, All this misappropriated hate, and they can't psychologically decipher what to do next. So, you know, you got them forming their lynch mobs and trying to make it, trying to make it a whole thing, right? And we still don't care.
So the company does have to take the government's threats seriously. We are in a whole new world when it comes to this administration being willing and able to exert its pressure against private corporations.
Yeah, they saying that the shooter was a leftist with a tranny boyfriend. We don't know nothing about that. We don't know nothing about that. And guess what? That ain't none of our business either. That happened that happened in Utah. That happened in Utah. Y'all know how I feel about Maga. I made it very clear. If you watch any of my material, hey, they got their issues. Let's continue.
A world that these executives, these CEOs, frankly, do not want to live in, right? Disney CEO Bob Iger, he thought about running for president. He would have been running as a Democrat. He is not a MAGA figure, but he is doing what he might believe is best for his business in this moment. And this is going to embolden the Trump allies who are prioritizing not just control of the government, but also control of culture. They're not trying to just add new conservative voices to the air. They're trying to squash the liberal voices they don't like. And at least for tonight, they are succeeding.
Ellie Honig, what's your legal view of this in terms of what we heard from the FCC chair, not only hours before this happened, but he was cheering this in a message to Brian earlier that he was posting. It was a meme from The Office of Michael Scott dancing. What are the legal implications here for people who are asking whether or not this is legal?
So now they're getting into, are there legal implications for us questioning what happened to Charlie Kirk?
So the key decision maker here is ABC itself. Now, given the pressure tactics that have been put out there.
Now, this is being done subliminally because they're really talking about the networks. They're really talking about the networks, but this is designed to make creators afraid. This is designed to, pretty much make us weary about our right of freedom of speech. Listen, we got the freedom to speak our minds to a degree. Freedom of speech always had consequences in America. You got the freedom to say what you want to say, but they also have the freedom to cancel you, and they always will.
By the FCC commissioner, we just saw that clip, by the president at times. ABC really had two options. Option one, which they took, would be to suspend Jimmy Kimmel. They're a private entity, ABC. They cannot be sued under the First Amendment. The First Amendment only applies to governmental entities. Congress shall make no law. So ABC could have chosen option A, suspend Jimmy Kimmel, save yourself the money, the political hassle, whatever it is, good or bad, that's ABC's decision. But option B, which I think is really more important, which ABC chose not to take, is they could have taken a stand. They could have said, we're not going to give in to the pressure. And then if and when the FCC took action, ABC could have challenged that in court. And I am quite confident that they would have won on First Amendment grounds, because now we're talking about governmental action. Now we're talking about the FCC.
And y'all know that Trump has something to say. I mean, not Trump, but Obama. Obama has something to say about this whole freedom of speech thing, right? And we got to go to that. So Jimmy Kimmel is canceled indefinitely. Donald Trump had a lot to say about it. Obama had to speak on Charlie Kirk. We're going to go into that real quick.
Well, speaking of the events of the world, you are in Pennsylvania, as you know, earlier this year. The governor's mansion is subject of an arson attack.
Let me make this very clear. I don't care for Obama personally. Some people love the guy. Some people hate him. Me, I just don't care for him. When he was in office, he didn't do anything for Black America either. All right. His Medicaid or Obamacare had high premium rates. He did more for the LGBTQ plus than he did for Black people. I don't really care for Obama. Obama was the one who got Muammar Gaddafi clapped. I don't care for him, right? But let's hear what he have to say in regards to this whole freedom of speech, or what he has to say about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So it's rather interesting what he had to say. But let's go.
The tragedy in Minnesota back in June, the horrific murder in Utah of a conservative activist. Are we at an inflection point in our country? Where are we today?
Well, we are certainly at an inflection point, not just around political violence, but there are a host of larger trends that we have to be concerned about. I think it is important for us at the outset to acknowledge that political violence is not new. It has happened.
Political violence is not new on the right or left hand side. Let's make that very clear.
And at certain periods in our history. But it is something that it is anathema to what it means to be a democratic country. And regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, what happened to Charlie Kirk was horrific and a tragedy. What happened, as you mentioned, to the state legislators?
I just gotta ask y'all, why is this man sitting like this, bro? Anyway, let's go.
In Minnesota, that is horrific. It is a tragedy. And there are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The central premise of our democratic system is that we have to be able to disagree and have sometimes really contentious debates without resort to violence.
You know, I don't like the way Barack Obama is walking on eggshells after Charlie Kirk himself said that your wife, along with a host of other black women, didn't have brain power or brain processing power. You know, you seem to be like, kind of timid when addressing the situation. When you're a former president, this is what makes me believe that these people are in fear, that there's some type of cabal, some type of shadow government that got these people petrified. Whoever took these damn oaths, they seem to be in terror right now. And they just can't speak their mind. Listen, let me tell y'all something. Our people, they're not even worried about us. We're not even on their radar. But it's the people who are in government, the people who have influence on nationally syndicated networks, the people who have a voice, and the people who have been in the midst of these individuals. Those are people who really should be afraid. Everybody who has profited off of our labor, everybody who has profited off the work of foundational Black Americans, those are the people who should be worried right now in the country because they're turning in on each other. And that's why they all walking on eggshells. But let's go.
And when it happens to some, but even if you think they're quote unquote on the other side of the argument, that's a threat to all of us. And we have to be clear and forthright in condemning. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't have a debate about the ideas that people who were victims of political violence were promoting.
Why do so many people say that Barack Obama is so well-spoken and articulate? And I never got that. I never got that from Obama.
And so I've noticed that there's been some confusion, I think, around this lately. And frankly, coming from the White House and some of the other positions of authority that suggest, even before we had determined who the perpetrator of this evil act was, that somehow we're going to identify an enemy. We're going to suggest that somehow that enemy was at fault. And we are then going to use that.
Oh, this tether is not talking nothing, man. Well, we tried to see what Obama's talking about, but don't worry about it. We're going to go back to Kimmel. He's just babbling. Slow babble. Slow babble. But let's see what Fox News. Let's see what Fox News had to say about Jimmy Kimmel. Because, you know, Fox News don't give a ish, right? They like sign us up for dictatorship. Yeah, you never seen nobody do slow babble before, right? Like Fox News, they probably going to go in, right, on Jimmy Kimmel. Let's see what they're talking about.
Pulling Jimmy Kimmel off the air indefinitely over his controversial comments about Charlie Kirks' assassination. ABC's decision came after Nexstar and soon to be announced Sinclair would be announcing that they would stop airing Kimmel's program. That's a big chunk of Kimmel's stations around the country. Earlier today, the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, who will join us in a moment, threatened action against Disney and ABC over this comment that Kimmel made on Monday, labeling the alleged Charlie Kirk assassin as a Maga. Take a look.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the Maga gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
I mean, and listen, Maga. Did that really offend y'all? I know Maga's in the building, but what Jimmy Kimmel just said, do y'all believe there may be some truth to it? Now, look. I'm going to say this. We don't know. For the record, I don't know. But all I do know is what has been proven is that Tyler Robinson was raised by a Republican family, and he also voted nonpartisan. I personally haven't seen any proof. I haven't seen any proof to show that he was a leftist. That's just from my personal research. I mean, because it's starting to feel like y'all can't say it was a black guy because you know it wasn't a black guy, but y'all got to find someone to blame is what it seems like. Like y'all having a hard time processing the possibility of it being one of your own. Now, I don't know. Somebody said you didn't do very good research. No, I actually pulled up his voting records, the father's voting records. That's the best research you can do is actually pull up their voting records. If you go to some of my video content, you see me pull the voting records up. So I'm just saying. I don't know if details matter to y'all, but anyway.
Maga gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing Maga gang desperately trying to characterize.
He called y'all the Maga gang.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the Maga gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
Not funny and fake news. Sadly, this was not the only vile comment about the Charlie Kirk assassination. On Monday night, Kimmel made...
I mean, was that comment vile? That's an interesting way of describing the comment. Vile. Let's say it was misinformation because we don't know. Let's just say it was a speculatory joke.
This disgusting remark about President Trump's grief over the assassination. Take a look.
This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
Now, remember, I have been calling out Jimmy Kimmel's reprehensible comments and dialogue for years now, you know, like this one that he made mocking the First Lady who speaks 6 languages, Melania Trump, in 2018. You might recall. Take a look.
I want to really thank the First Lady, Melania, who has done an incredible job. She worked so hard on this event, and so I want to thank you.
Yeah, that's true. Not a chance she did one thing to help set that up. There's no, she didn't die egg, she didn't feel bad. The only thing she's been working on is an escape tunnel. No White House Easter celebration would be complete without story time from our First Lady.
Never stop exploring, because life would be boring. Be clever and curious, just like a cat. Ask lots of questions about this and that.
About this and that.
I mean, it's just jokes, people. Isn't this America? I mean, you know, our current president is a former TV star. Our president was on Home Alone, y'all. Where's his sense of humor? Our current president was slamming Vince McMahon in WWE. Where's the sense of humor? Somebody said, yes, murder is hilarious, right? I mean, I guess years of people making fun of George Floyd, I guess that never happened. With middle America taking pictures with their knee in each other's neck to mock George Floyd. I guess that never happened. I guess middle America wasn't making jokes about Trayvon Martin and all of that. But look, I'm not making jokes. Jimmy did. And guess what? Jimmy got fired or suspended.
Recent vile remarks about Charlie Kirk's assassination. It should come as no surprise, given his lengthy history of mocking conservatives, Republicans, never-ending Trump bashing, which is why his ratings sucked. Take a look.
We definitely know.
Let's see. Let me read this comment from Real 80s. He says, MAGA does not want freedom of speech. Pam Bondi talking hate speech and MAGA scared. Right. See, right now, what we have in the chat is dirty MAGA, but the real MAGA, they don't really like what's happening right now because the real MAGA want the freedom of hate speech. They want to be able to still talk their bigotry. They still want to spew their, anti-black racist rhetoric. They still want to push their black degeneracy kinks. So regular MAGA doesn't want this to happen because they're like, okay, hold on now. We want our freedom of speech. Now, the people in my chat, I get dirty MAGA in my chat. And they look at Donald Trump as their Lord and Savior. So regardless of what happens, they're going to follow him. I heard a Trump supporter say that if he murdered somebody on their front yard, that they would still follow Trump. If Trump did that. Real 80 says, what about Trayvonin? They was taking pics like Trayvon Martin with Skittles and iced tea laying on the ground. Right. Middle America has always made jokes on our behalf at the behest of black bodies. But see, the issue is right now in middle America is in the dominant society, it's happening within themselves, and they don't know how to take that. See, it's happening in their own communities where they're making fun of the situation. And that means they're losing grip of their own people. That's what got them real upset.
Who wins Time's Sexiest Alleged Murderer of the Year. That would go to Luigi Mangione, the suspect in the shooting of the CEO of United Healthcare, who's become the hottest cold-blooded killer in America. Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, and it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet. Tesla stock is way down, almost disastrously so. People have been...
Somebody said, Nubreed, are you pro-black or a man of God? I'm a pro-black man of God. Thank you. Hope that answered your question. And Jesus Christ is black.
Vandalizing Tesla vehicles, new Tesla vehicles. Please don't vandalize. Don't ever vandalize Tesla vehicles. And so Elon Musk has been making the rounds in the right-wing media to try to appear to be a human being. Everyone gets all worked up. Here's the thing. Donald Trump will never die. Forget it. He's like Dracula. He's going to keep sucking the life out of us forever.
Damn. Y'all hear that?
Now, President Trump, he did react to this news on Truth Social, writing in part, quote, "Great news for America. The ratings challenge." Jimmy Kimmel.
That's a good question right there, ladies. Are y'all Christians or nationalists? And I even got another question. What color is Jesus Christ? Are y'all Christians or are you nationalists? Excellent question.
Show is canceled. Congratulations to ABC.
Yeah, we have the divided states of America imploding. Let's read this here post on X from Donald Trump. Great news for America. The ratings challenged. Jimmy Kimmel show is canceled. Cap letters. Congratulations to ABC to finally having the courage to do what had to be done. Kimmel has zero talent and worse ratings than ever. Colbert, if that's possible, that leaves Jimmy and Seth two total losers. On fake news, NBC, their ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC. President Donald Trump. So look, this don't have nothing to do with freedom of speech, honestly. This is a personal vendetta. See, the network shut down Jimmy Kimmel because they're afraid of the Trump administration. See, they did a good job of pretty much conjuring up fear among people to speak their mind. And, you know, the network and Jimmy wasn't on the same page. So they shut him down mid-speech. Let's take it to a commercial break. And Trump said, hey, since we got beef, he done made fun of my wife, Melania. He done, you know, he done came with all kind of segments against me on this show. Shut him down. Shut him down. This really don't have nothing to do with freedom of speech. So, you know, you got a lot of cowards out there who get afraid. They get afraid. You know, we still, listen, there hasn't been no law that's passed. Matter of fact, in 2 weeks from now, people are going to forget all about Charlie Kirk. Yeah, he'll be forgotten about. You give it 2 weeks, nobody's going to care about Charlie Kirk. Yeah, I see a lot of people upset with Jimmy, but Jimmy is not going to stop y'all white on white, high profile crime epidemic. Jimmy Kimmel is not going to stop that. That's going to continue because y'all got misappropriated hate. As long as y'all keep targeting the black community with National Guards and going to highly concentrated, predominantly black neighborhoods, over policing and harassing our people, the more your own people's hate is going to show up to your doorsteps. And, you know, it's going to strangle itself. You know, y'all have a malignant root in y'all's community. It's a malignant root. They're taking out schools. Yeah, they're taking out schools. They're taking out political figures and pundits Matter of fact, let me ask y'all something. Who tried to take out Donald Trump? Because the damn sure wasn't one of us. I would argue that the same people that tried to take out Trump is the same people who tried to take out, who did take out Kirk. I would argue that. That's right. They think they can rewrite everything, history books, policy, museums, even jokes for comedians. Right. These people are power drunk, ego driven. You living in a country where you can't even tell jokes. See, real MAGA, they're not good with this. You know, real MAGA might show up in the comment section at some point and say, you know what? The black guy has a point. We don't want to lose our freedom of speech.
For finally having the courage to do what had to be done. Kimmel has zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert, if that's possible. Now, the left already, starting with Humpty Dumpty, fake news, CNN, J.B. Pritzker, Gavin Newsom.
And for the record, I don't care if you, I'm not looking for white approval or white acceptance. But some of y'all who got some common sense may say the black guy has a point. Trust and believe. I'm not looking for a pat on the back. I'm not one of those guys. I'm not trying to be one of y'all's. I'm not trying to be one of y'all's subjects. I don't want to go to, listen, I don't want to go to dinner with y'all.
Predictably claiming this is conservative censorship. The MAGA crowd, Donald Trump got Jimmy Kimmel. That is false. I can't find a single prominent conservative voice in the country that even remotely wanted or hoped or was pushing to get Jimmy Kimmel taken off the air. Nobody, it just was simple. People changed the channel. They didn't watch him. Not one person can I think of. Maybe there's one, but I can't think of them. Now, truth be told, Jimmy Kimmel's show was failing spectacularly. I've seen the ratings. They're awful. His ratings are far below even that of Steve.
Well, that's why he got canceled. His ratings was low. See, if the money was flowing, Jimmy Kimmel would still be on the air. If that joke would have hit and that would have boosted the ratings, he would have stayed on the air. It's a money thing, man. It's a money thing.
Colbert, who was canceled. Now, why, you ask? This is supposed to be a late-night comedy show. It has become nothing more than nonstop, never...
I see Jennifer. She says, you are part of the problem, not the solution. What color is Jesus Christ, Jennifer? We'll leave it at that.
Ending, hate Donald Trump. That's the show. As a result, the ratings have been in the sewer. It has been spiraling downwards for years.
People in the, it's a lot of people saying, who cares? Who cares what color Jesus Christ was? But I thought y'all were Christians. Yeah, Jesus Christ wasn't translucent. He was olive color. Which olive? Black, brown, or green? It doesn't matter. No, y'all supposed to be Christians. Christ is king. Didn't the Bible say who remembers me as the scriptures have written shall have everlasting life? Oh man, they pissed off. See, this is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. They can't listen, they can't stare their own hypocrisy in the face. Y'all claim to be Southern Baptist Christians, fundamental Judeo-Christians with Christian values. That's what y'all claim. But you don't serve the real Jesus Christ. Yeah, they want a transracial Jesus Christ. And you wonder why middle America in a dominant society is falling. because of y'all's hypocrisy.
And then once the ratings go down, revenues go down as well. They go hand in hand. In other words, Jimmy Kimmel simply failed at his job. He lost his audience, then he lost revenue, and then station.
Yeah, somebody pull up the scriptures giving a description of Jesus Christ. Let's go.
Groups, they had enough after this comment, about a husband and father of two. They said enough's enough, low ratings, no money. What's the point? And that is the predictable outcome in television. There's no pressure group outside that was pushing for Jimmy Kimmel to be silenced. I'm sure he'll end up.
Look, they're afraid to say he was Middle Eastern now. Why? Because the white nationalists don't like them either. They're afraid to say he was Middle Eastern. That used to be the argument. That used to deflect when you asked them that and say he was Middle Eastern. But the white nationalist group not rocking with them either. So they don't say that. They say it just don't even matter. And you got some people that say he was white. And look, when you type that, you're wrong.
Having a platform somewhere, he'll have a podcast. He'll be able to curse on everything. My understanding is most station groups were just fed up with his show. First, the TV group Nexstar, followed by the TV group Sinclair, telling Disney they don't want the show anymore. It's not working for them.
Somebody said, why do you keep bringing color and race into this? Because that's what matters. This is you're on a black guy's channel. You're getting a black guy perspective. So for us, I'm just trying to inform you how we look at this. We look at everything that's going on in the media right now. When it comes to Charlie Kirk, when it comes to everything that's happening, we look at it as white people problems that we're entertained by. That's how we look at it. We're not even politically invested. So you're getting to see it from our perspective. That's why you clicked on the video, to see what black guys think about this. And what we think is that middle America, the dominant society, has real issues, and they seem to be imploding. And we got our popcorn because y'all seem to be over policing our environments, engaging us while we sitting back eating popcorn, watching y'all's own society fall to pieces. And we just got our popcorn, and y'all have become an astonishment. Y'all have become an astonishment, a byword, and we're at all. Because y'all got all these different, basically fragments of a government, and y'all seem to be clashing like it's clashing with the Titans. Y'all got Groyper's movement. Y'all got strong right conservatives. You got these left extremists. You got these people over here in Israel, these people there. All we see is white people. All we see is a white civil war. Yeah. And we just looking at it like, damn, this is a biblical proportion. Because the Bible says a nation divided can't stand, and we get to see it. And we know that, y'all's kingdom is running out. So we're just giving our commentary. See, we're not partial to Jimmy Kimmel either. He ain't did nothing for us. I mean, at least if I'm speaking, honestly, I just think it's funny that a polarizing, TV star of his magnitude just got fired like that. I mean, hey, it is what it is. Ratings were low. And, people say that I'm racist, all these erroneous, egregious statements, man. First of all, I don't have the resources to be racist. I have never systematically held back an entire nation of people. Never formed a lynch mob against anybody. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing too, real 80s. One big dragon with multiple hungry heads with one greedy ass belly. That's what we see. A bunch of beasts eating each other. That's what we see.
They can't sell it. It's not getting ratings. I'm understanding it's going to be replaced with Steve Harvey's Celebrity Family Feud. Actually, the good.
All right, let's see. We got a donation here. TT Berserk says Christians, Christ-like. Christians equal Christ-like, but was stolen and manipulated from Jews, which Jews originally claimed in many shades, including a strong African presence. First of all, did Jesus Christ tell you to make a religion called Christianity? That's the first part. Did Jesus Christ in the Bible say, let's have a religion and call them Christians? Matter of fact, the word Christians back then was actually used by scribes as a form of disrespect to Christ and his disciples. Now you go on to say, but was stolen and manipulated from us Jews. Listen, I don't know. I don't know nothing about that. You know, and I'm not falling for that trick bag that you just tried to throw in here. All I know is all we see is all white people. And we don't align ourselves up with any of y'all. Only people we rock with is who rock with us. We don't align ourselves with any of y'all. So don't try to say it was African Jews and white Jews and we all manipulated the book and all. I don't want to hear none of that. Because who helped establish the nation of Israel in 1942? Other white people. What are you talking about? Y'all want us to be mad at those people in Israel. We didn't give them the land of Israel in 1942. Y'all did. But then want us to just team up with y'all. We don't care. They got their own conflicts going on over there. We don't care. All we see is a bunch of white people at war with each other. Yeah. Somebody said they took it, nobody gave it. No, they didn't take anything. In 1942, y'all gave them the land. There was an actual bill. Or was it 1948? 1948, my bad, stand corrected. How y'all gonna give them the land and then try to tell us to team up with y'all? No, y'all deal with that. Them people ain't got nothing to do with what we got going on over here. Yeah. It's called the Balfour Treaty. 1948 Balfour Treaty. Yeah, y'all signed it over. But now want to act like they're the problem. Nah, miss me with that. Y'all make y'all's decrees, y'all's declarations, and then when y'all can't have the most power, y'all want to go try to team up with black folks. Yeah. Now they crying every day about those people over there. Nope. Miss us with that. We're not, listen, we're not engaged with all of that. Y'all can have that.
Good show and funny, much funnier than Kimmel. Given Kimmel's disastrous ratings, history of crass commentary, lack of any humor, chasing away more than half the country, vile attacks on people he disagrees with politically, is not a shock. He did this to himself. Nobody pushed, he jumped. And remember, this is Brendan Carr said to podcaster Betty Johnson today, quote, what people don't understand is broadcasters are entirely different than people who use other forms of communication. They have a license granted by us at the FCC, and what comes with it is an obligation to operate in the public interest. From my perspective, it's frankly amazing his show lasted this long. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey.
Yeah, they happy that Jimmy is gone, man. They happy Jimmy is gone. Look, at the end of the day, we don't care on this side. There is no bill that's been passed that says that we can't speak our mind and talk about what's going on, but you know, they're trying to generate that fear mechanism in people. That's what they're doing right now. There's more updated news on Jimmy.
All right, it is 20 minutes after
Oh
the top
man,
of the hour. ABC News pulling Jimmy Kimmel.
This news station right here, man. This one right here is the worst, bro. I mean, this guy right here, this guy right here, he talked about giving homeless people the lethal injection involuntarily. This guy right here is in a sunken place. And this lady right here is one of those alleged white Southern Baptist people. That we've been talking about. That's really a white nationalist. This one right here, boy, this station right here. Yeah, who cloned Tyrone, man? This one right here is a wild station right here, bro. If you want to see evil at play, you just turn to this one here. Which one is this? This is just regular. I don't know what show this is. Fox and Friends. This is the worst one online right now. I ain't lying. This is the worst one online. Let's go. But make no mistake about it. I ain't with no left. I ain't with none of it. I ain't with none of it. But let's go.
All right, it is 20 minutes after the top of the hour. ABC News pulling Jimmy Kimmel live off the air indefinitely over the late night host comments on the assassination of Charlie.
Yeah, they fired Jimmy Kimmel, but they didn't fire this guy right here. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy, let me explain this. This guy is on record saying on news, it aired that they should just start giving homeless people the lethal injection. And he still has a job, but Jimmy Kimmel is fired. Jimmy Kimmel is fired. And this happened last week. Telling you. Y'all seen that? Y'all seen that? That's crazy.
At the top of the hour, ABC News pulling Jimmy Kimmel live off the air indefinitely.
Somebody said, show us proof. I'll get to that. I'll get to that to show y'all the proof. Let me air this and we can go to it.
The late night host comments on the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
That's right. Ty Power joins us with the latest on that. Good morning, Ty.
Good morning to all three of you. The shakeup comes as Jimmy Kimmel continued to reference Charlie Kirk and the alleged gunman this week during his late night monologues. It all started with him calling out President Trump just a day after the assassination. Watch.
With all these terrible things happening, you would think that our president would at least make an attempt to bring us together, but he didn't. Hit some new lows over the weekend with the Maga gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from.
After the comedian's contentious remarks about the president on September 11th and then the MAGA base on September 15th, as you heard, Kimmel continued again on Tuesday, stating, quote, many in MAGA land are working very hard to capitalize on the murder of Charlie Kirk.
And I agree with that statement, including Candace Owens. You know, she's turned Charlie Kirk's death into a murder mystery and she's milking it for all it's worth. And there's a lot of right-wing conservatives that are, you know, making a come up off of Charlie, you know, including, you know, everybody's making a come up off of Charlie. Yeah, everybody is. But see, it's okay for us to do it because it's none of our business. These people claim to be friends. We just cover the news.
The FCC warning Disney there would be action taken against his comments, and then ABC pulled him off the air indefinitely shortly thereafter. Just before ABC's announcement, the president of one of the country's largest TV stations said it would stop airing Kimmel's show, calling the host's comments offensive and insensitive, and that they don't represent the values of the communities in which we are located. They're going to replace programming in its ABC-affiliated markets. SAG-AFTRA, though, responding to the suspension, stating that the decision is the type of suppression and retaliation that endangers everyone's freedoms.
See, that's what they screaming now. They're screaming that freedom of speech is under attack, which it always has been. It always has been.
Now, all of this news comes as yet another ABC reporter issues an apology for insensitive commentary on Charlie Kirk's assassination, gushing over the alleged shooter's text to his roommate.
Very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate who was transitioning, calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love.
I mean, maybe he was a flaming flamingo. I don't know. But he still was in the middle of Utah. And he still is a student that was passing with flying colors, had a full scholarship to Utah State University. He is still what we would call America's golden child. Nonetheless, even if he was, a flaming flamingo, he's still one of y'all's own. I mean, I don't know what we missing here. Yeah, even if he was, on the other side of things, right? He still would be considered America's golden child. So y'all still upset. Now all of a sudden y'all want to hone in on his sexuality? Nah, we don't care about that. Does somebody's sexuality make them a Democrat? Is that what we saying now? Is the proof of him being, let me ask you MAGA people this, because I'm just trying to understand. Does his sexuality make him a Democrat? Even though we haven't seen any proof that he was a Democrat, but they're saying because he was involved. Yeah, because that's what I wanted to say, FBA strong, because there's many undercover MAGA homosexuals. That's right. Yeah, it's a whole lot of those guys who claiming to be conservatives, but they ain't really no conservatives. There's a whole lot of those MAGA guys that are on the low. A lot of those insecure white nationalist groups that was outside marching saying, white man fight back, white man fight back. Yeah, a lot of them undercover. Yeah, those type, those insecure type. See, we know that white supremacist groups who used to form their lynch mobs back in the day, right? Because that's who used to do the lynchings. We know a lot of them were envious. They were envious of the black man. They was envious because their women would shimmy down, they would tie sheets and blankets together and they would shimmy down onto the barnyard. Yeah, that's what was happening. They were very envious of us. See, I'm just giving y'all some history here. Yeah, they would shimmy on down, climb out the window, shimmy on down to the barnyard, and they be going after the Mandingo. And so what that did was it instilled insecurity and it instilled hatred for our men. And the ones who was forming these lynch mobs, they were white supremacist groups like the KKK. And we just had a young man who was a young man who was lynched in DSU. Oh man, I got them upset up in here, bro. Oh, they are pissed. Hey, look, we just covering the news, y'all.
Matt Gutman.
Don't get your knickers in a bunch. We covering the news here.
Reporter pictured there posting, quote, yesterday, I tried
Himself with him repeatedly calling his roommate who was transitioning, calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love.
Matt Gutman, the reporter pictured there, posting, quote, yesterday, I tried to underscore the jarring contrast between this cold-blooded assassination of Charlie Kirk and the personal text read aloud by the Utah County.
That's a good point. Even the Groypers, they are self-proclaimed incels. Yeah, they basically LGBT white nationalists. Yeah, the Groypers, who are Republicans, they believe that dealing with women, unless you're trying to make a baby, that makes you a homosexual. That's what they believe. Canada, thank you for the support, says Canada is and was always foresee for pro of any color. It is where they underground railroads went to. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I have to do my research, but thank you for the support. Yeah, you know, even the Groypers have a slightly homosexual ideology. Not even slightly. You know, you got these guys saying that dealing with women, you know, they got this reverse weird doctrine that they go by. Anyway, let's go.
Attorney, I deeply regret that my words did not make that clear, but let there be zero doubt here. I unequivocally can.
Now, what? Don't come in here spread misinformation. Somebody says you're supporting a guy that thinks Charlie Kirk should die, leave the stream. Why would you say something like that? Why would you come in here with a conjecture like that? I didn't say that. Nowhere in this stream did I say that. So for that reason, you know, because that person didn't know how to, you know, view the live stream, somebody please, you know, pack them up. We're not going to do that.
Condemn this horrific crime. Back over to you.
Okay, thank you, Todd.
Appreciate it.
I'm Steve Ducey. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the...
Somebody says misinformation. He says he's making up stuff about Groypers. Now, I'm not making it up. Now, look, this same guy here, right? Now, mind you, Jimmy Kimmel was fired. Jimmy Kimmel was fired. Now, watch this. Let me pull this up for y'all real quick. Y'all not going to believe this. Hold on real quick. All right, we got that for you. Look at this.
Health and the homeless population, a lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Hey, Brian, why did it have to get to the...
Involuntary lethal injection, just kill them. That's what he said about homeless people. And then, you know, shortly after that, there was a shooting at a homeless encampment in Minneapolis. And their tents were burnt down. So you got to understand the type of satanic dog whistles that these people be blowing. Now, Maga, what y'all think about that? Think about this, Maga. You fall on some hard times, you ain't got nowhere to go. And somebody roll up on you and lethal inject you involuntarily.
Health and the homeless population, a lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Hey, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right. I would say this. We're not voting for the right people. In North Carolina, wake up.
Or involuntary lethal injection. This man still has a job. And I want you to see his apology. His half-wit apology.
In the morning, we were discussing the murder of Irina Saruska in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, how to stop these kinds of attacks by homeless, mentally ill assailants, including institutionalizing or jailing such people so they cannot attack again. Now, during that discussion, I wrongly said they should get lethal injections. I apologize for that extremely callous remark. I'm obviously aware that not all men.
So why Jimmy Kimmel is not offered the or afforded the opportunity to apologize? How could this man say such an inflammatory statement online about killing homeless people, but he still got a job, but Jimmy Kimmel don't?
Mentally ill homeless people act as the perpetrator did in North Carolina, and that so many homeless people deserve our empathy and compassion.
Yeah, he don't care about the homeless because guess what? After he blew that satanic dog whistle, look what happened. Hold on, is this the one right here? I thought I had the clip with the Minneapolis shooting, but no, there was a shooting in Minneapolis. So apparently this is Nick Fuentes. Since y'all saying that because the guy allegedly was a homosexual dealing with a tranny, look at your boy Nick. Oh man. Yeah, they need to fire that dude, but look at your boy Nick. We talking about undercover home. Is he a Democrat? No. Hold on. Since they saying that dude's sexuality makes him since they saying Tyler Kirk's sexuality makes him a extremist, what does this make Nick Fuentes?
Yeah, everyone always talks about who's taller. So I'm taller. Yeah, he's clearly taller. Well, Nick's 7 foot. And you're walking on the curb right now.
He's happier than a homosexual with a bag of dildos. All you got to do is look at what are those? What are these? Oh, they mad. They mad. Yo, Maga is pissed because this is one of their heroes right here. Look at these skinny ass pants he's wearing. Yeah, these are perverted incels. These people said that they're incels. And these are strong right extremists who claim to be white nationalists, who claim to be racist. Look at this.
Yeah, everyone always talks about who's taller. So I'm taller. Yeah, he's clearly taller. Well, Nick's 7 foot. And I'm you're walking on the curb right now. Can't see what you're walking. You're walking on the curb. So, me and Nick were hanging out last night. We come home. Yeah.
Yo, bro. Hey, the Minister of Information who sent me this, my bro, man. Hey, I don't know where you found this, but this is wild. And MAGA is pissed right now. I mean, they are pissed. I never seen this video. This is, I just caught wind of this one. And it's crazy because they're claiming that the guy who got Charlie Kirk was on the other side. Yeah, the dude said I was lying about groypers. But listen, if you got any level of discernment, you seen what's going on with Nick and Catwoman over here. Nick Fuentes, the guy who's flailing his arms, yelling all these obscenities, yelling all of this about, bro, this is wild. Yeah, listen, they got to have their MAGA rainbow sect too. They got the MAGA rainbow crew. This is crazy.
Yeah, everyone always talks about who's taller. So I'm taller. Yeah, he's clearly taller. Well, Nick's 7 foot.
I'm taller.
You're walking on the curb right now. Can't see what you're walking. You're walking on the curb. So, me and Nick were hanging out last night. We come home.
Oh, nah, bro. This is a bad look, MAGA.
Yeah, everyone always talks about who's tall.
It looked like the happiest moment of his entire life. That's crazy. But look what they posting. Kurt's killer was dating a transgender. Conservatives aren't into all that LGBT stuff. Hey, Nick got some explaining to do, y'all. Nick got some explaining to do. This is a full-blown exposure. Look, somebody came and said, dude, you're the devil. Look, they don't know what to say. They don't know what to say. This was going on in MAGA. Hold on, y'all. This was happening in MAGA right now? Nah. Yeah, somebody said MAGA Skittles. Zesty MAGA. Oh, man, we got Zesty MAGA, bro. Yeah, Nick Fuentes with his cat boy. He went on a whole date. They hung out all night. They went and got lunch. They went shopping together. They rode around like this. Oh, MAGA, y'all got some explaining to do, man. I know y'all don't know what to do with this one. Oh, man. Oh, man. Let me see. Thanks for the support. Says, after the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 made even free states dangerous, Canada became the most secure destination once across the border. Enslaved people were legally free. Key Canadian destinations included Windsor. Okay. That's interesting, bro. Like I said, I do my research. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just got to look into it. Like somebody said, keep enjoying your freedom to spread lies. What did I lie about? What lie did I tell in this broadcast? Not one lie. Somebody said Tupac was rainbow. Look, they got to try to come after one of us. You have no proof of that. That's what they do. They deflect. That's what they do, deflect. No, listen, Tupac was not MAGA. Tupac wasn't spreading strong right conservative views. Now, I'm a real conservative. The Bible says, male and female, he created them. Male and female. I'm a real conservative. These people ain't conservatives at all. They're just, listen, they're just grifting to get political position and power. This individual can be y'all's future president one day. Yeah, what makes me a conservative is I follow the Bible, law, statutes, commandments, and judgments. But anyway, man, this has been a powerful broadcast. Yeah. Somebody said, if you knew this, why did MAGA not disown him? Right, because they secretly into this. Yeah, you got baby oil MAGA out here. This is crazy. Baby oil MAGA. Yo, y'all wilding in the chat. Y'all wilding. But nonetheless, man, look, if you are new to the platform, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Get in the comment section in case I didn't read your comment while we were streaming live. Make sure you go to the comment section and, let me know how you feel about the broadcast. I got much more material coming. There's a lot going on. Very newsworthy day. Y'all stay safe out there. Peace.